Okay, so we are on a line now. So factoring out the blobs. So this is the same thing as factoring out the greatest common factor, okay? It really is. It's this, if you're finding the biggest common factor. But in this case, it's going to be a blob, okay? And so if I wrote something like this, 4x times blob plus 2 times blob. Pretty straightforward. What would I do? What do we notice is true in both of them?
They both have blob.
They both have blob. Okay, so that's what I'm going to focus on. I'm not going to focus on the 4x and the 2 that I could actually factor out of 2. I'm not going to worry about that. Really, all I'm worried about right now is factoring out the blob. Okay, Merritt.
Does the blob have to be the same to be like blob?
The blob has to be.
Blob.
Yeah, no, the blob has to be exactly the same. Like if this were x plus 1, this would have to be x plus 1.
Okay, and if they're different, do you write like blob 1?
So good question. So let's do this first. We'll try this. So the first thing you do is you put the blob in parentheses. That's different from what we've been doing with the greatest common factor, right? Because you didn't need parentheses. But the reason you do for the blob is a lot of times the blob is going to have a plus or minus in it, in the between two terms, right? And so you always, since you're going to be multiplying a whole blob, a binomial, times something, you have to have the parentheses there, all right? And then times, what do I have left over if I factor out the blobs? If I factor this blob out, I've got a 4x here, and then there's a plus, and then I have a 2 here. Pretty easy, right? Yes?
Yeah.
Right? Very simple. Right? So let's try one. Let's try a real one. So let's say we have 8x times, times 2x plus 7 minus 3 times 2x plus 7. What would that be?
8x minus 3, parentheses.
Right, so it doesn't matter which one you do first. I tend to do the blob first. Since I know the blob is being factored out, then what do I have left over? I have the 8x and the minus 3. Right? Pretty straightforward, right? Like, probably everybody, fist of 5 would be 5, right? Am I right, or is it hard? Right? Fist of 5. Let me see. Sorry. Fist of 5. So everybody gets it. I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
We did this last year.
Yeah, we did. We didn't go very deep into it, right? And so we're going to go a little more deep into it this year. I'm going to actually make things a little harder, so that you really you get it. So that's the first thing we're talking about, and I'm pretty much done. We'll do one more just to be sure. So let's say we had 3x cubed times x squared minus 1, and then and then plus 2x times x squared minus 1. All right, so what would it be?
I can't see. X squared minus 1.
X squared minus 1 times
3x squared plus 2x.
3x cubed plus 2x, yeah. Good. Pretty straightforward. Right? Are you getting it, Louis? Does it make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody? No, I saw you. I didn't know your face. I was trying to read your face. I'm sure you're getting it. I just wanted to be sure. All right, so that's you guys need it up? Yes, Mary.
Once you have the blob times.
Hang on a second. So Tiana, come on up here, sweetie. It's just too noisy. Because I taught it to you yesterday, it means you still have to listen, and you can't interrupt the rest of my class. Okay, great.
Okay, so once you've factored out everything, it turns into a format that could you use FOIL and simplify?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you could actually FOIL this now and actually get an answer. And if we did, you would find a very interesting answer. For example, let's do it. We'll just FOIL it. So what would 2x times 8x be?
10x. No, 16x.
16
squared.
x squared, right? Right? So 16x squared. And then let's do this one to here. What's 2x times minus 3?
Negative 6x.
Negative 6x. Okay. Now we'll do these. 7 times 8x. 56x. And then last one, 7 times negative 3.
Negative 21.
Negative 21. All right, so right now it's a 4-term. In this particular case, right now it's a 4-term thing, but we could actually simplify. We could combine those, right? So then it would be a trinomial again. Right now it's a polynomial. It's more than it's 3 term. It's more than 3 terms.
Wait, should we have taken notes on that?
No, you don't have to, but you can. It's okay to do it. But these two you could combine, and then you'd have 16x squared. Where are we? Plus 50x minus 21, right? And so that would be your trinomial. That would be your trinomial. So really this, where am I? This is the same as this, right? These two things are exactly the same. They're just written. This is sort of in a not a very user-friendly format. This is a little more user-friendly. This is actually quite user-friendly too. These two are very user-friendly. This one really isn't. Yes?
You would have to do that because if you just multiplied the 8x by the 2x, you get 16x squared and stuff.
That is true. You could actually do that with these. You could do separate like that. But the main thing what I'm trying to teach right now is factoring out the blobs so that you understand how to do how to factor a 4-term expression. Okay. In this case, this 4 terms could be simplified into 3 terms, so that wasn't a good example. But I will give you a good example right now. So can I erase all this?
Yeah.
Is that okay? So the first part was factoring out the blobs. Everybody gets that pretty well, I think. That's pretty straightforward. I'm sorry?
You guys need new erasers.
All right. So what if I gave you something like this, though? If I gave you let's see, I'll start over here so I have room to do more. 2x cubed plus 8x squared plus 3x plus 12.
You want us
2x cubed plus 8x squared plus 3x plus 12. First of all, how many terms do you see in that?
4.
Okay, so there are 4 terms.
2.
Right? There's 4 terms. 1, 2, 3, 4. Terms are always separated by pluses or minuses, right? Okay? How would you factor that? Can you factor out a 2? Is there any number you could factor out that would go into all of these?
1.
No, right? What about variables?
Wait.
This doesn't have an x, so I can't factor out x's. So what could I do, Vincent?
You could find the common denominator, the biggest common factor thing in both sets of 2.
So you're saying split it into possibly 2 problems in a way. So I think what Vincent is saying is this. Is that right? So what if we factor just these 2, and then there's a plus sign, we've got a plus sign there, and then we'll factor those 2, right? So let's try it. What is my greatest common factor with the numbers here? 2. So I'm going to put a 2 here. And then with my x squared or x cubed, what would I write?
X squared.
X squared. And then I'm going to put a parenthesis. And what 2x squared times what is 2x cubed? X, right? You guys all agree with me?
Yeah.
All right. Then there's a plus sign, so I'm going to put a plus. 2 times what is 8? 4. And then x squared and x squared, they're the same thing. So that's, we're just going to leave it like that. Okay, now we finished that one. This has a connecting plus sign there. And so I'm bringing that down. It's really important to bring that down. That's the big problem that a lot of people don't do. Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Sorry.
So bring that plus sign down. So everybody's okay. You understand this from so far, right? Yep. This is what the quiz was. You just factored just like on the quiz, right? That's it. And then we bring this plus down here. Very important. If you leave out that plus, then suddenly it's going to be multiply, which is not right. Okay? Now, what can you factor out of these two?
3.
3. And then what are you going to have left?
X plus
X plus 4. All right, now what do you have?
A blob factor.
You have blobs. You can factor out blobs now, right? So what would it be? I'm going to do x plus 4, parenthesis, and then parenthesis. Again, this is now multiply, right? There's no plus sign in between these two parentheses because I'm factoring things out. Factors are things that are multiplied times each other to get a number, right? That's what factors are. Factors of 10 are 2 times 5, right? Right? So it's got to be multiply here. X plus 4, and then you have the 2x squared plus 3. And you're done.
Yay!
Right?
Yay.
That's pretty awesome. So, whenever, this is key, whenever you are asked to factor a 4-term expression, this is called grouping. This right here is called grouping. Factoring by group, try factoring. I should have written that down, but anyway. Factoring by grouping and then factor out the blob. All right, let's try a couple. Well, let's try one more maybe. So let's try this one. 3x cubed plus 24x plus x squared plus 8. So how many terms does it have?
4.
So the first thing I'm going to think about is factoring by grouping. In other words, I'm going to group these two together, and I'm going to group these two together. All right? That's called factoring by grouping. All right? So what is with the numbers, what's my greatest common factor?
3.
3, and then variables? X, right? All right, and what 3x times what is x? 3x cubed. X squared plus 3 times what is 24?
8.
8. And then the x and the x, so that's okay. Plus, because there's a plus sign here, I'm bringing that down. Right? Stand over here. Now, this is weird though. What do I do here?
1 times x squared.
Yes! So you've got to have something parenthesis, right? And that something is going to be 1 parenthesis x squared plus 8. Do you all see why? Yeah. If I just left it without parentheses, x squared plus 8, I wouldn't have a blob. Because the blobs are in parentheses, right? Right? Blobs are in parentheses. And so he knows it. So you just make sure you do, right? So then we're going to do x squared plus 8. I'm factoring out the blob now. 3x plus 1, right? 3x plus 1. And I'm done. Right? Pretty straightforward. Okay, so the homework tonight is this kind of stuff. And it's not going to take you very long. There's only 4 of these. And there's a bunch of factoring out the blobs, which will take you 5 minutes at the most, right? So it shouldn't be too hard. And tomorrow is your last day. So tomorrow we're going to look at harder versions of these, okay? So make sure you get these down really well. Oh shoot.